Hello and welcome to the last short video that we're going to do on the PS212 assessment. So the last bit we're going to be looking at is the reflections. If you've got any questions that you want to ask after this, please email myself, Amy or Sam to make some appointments, and please make an effort to come and talk to us about this. Okay, so what we've got here is we've got the key questions for your reflections. Please use these to structure your assignment, okay? And my recommendation would be that the first two questions you don't spend as much time on them as you do on the last two, because I think the last two is where you can bring in a bit of criticality and a bit of further subject knowledge. So that would be my advice. So what were the strengths and limitations? Provide a bit of detail. I used this approach. This had a positive impact on the learners. This is supported by this, and this person. Fine, fantastic. What do you need to keep doing well? And so on, okay? And what we've done is we've put up a couple of examples so you can get an understanding of these. I think more time and attention needs to go into the bottom two questions. What were the things you need to change? What is the best way for you to move forward? And you might want to refer to specific teaching and learning styles or specific methods of instruction when you do this. Now, I've got some key points here which I want to drag up. The first one about using literature to support, I think it correlates with the bottom point as well. That I think the most literature you can get in comes in those final two questions, and a little bit in the first question as well, but mainly in the final two questions. Because you can provide alternative solutions and you can use literature to inform your alternative solutions, okay? You should let the session drive your reflection. So don't get caught up with the literature driving your reflection. You should let what happened. So physically, the kids didn't get this. Or actually, they responded negatively when I did this. Or, you know, actually these two people weren't challenged enough. Let that drive your reflection. Let what happened drive your reflection, and use literature and theory to make sense of it, as opposed to letting the literature and theory drive your reflections and trying to use examples to support it. What I want to see is that you can see what happened in a session, you can make sense of what happened in a session, and then you can come up with some alternative options and different ways to deliver the next session. Okay? When I say focus on one aspect, in the reflections we covered development, in the sessions we covered development of FMS, generally across all the sessions. We covered assessment for learning, instructional techniques, and differentiation. I would focus specifically on one of these areas in your reflection. You might note that actually you thought you differentiated effectively, however, you needed to develop your instructional techniques. Alternatively, it might be that actually I possibly didn't assess for learning enough, so when I came to do the plenary at the end, the students hadn't really got it and I hadn't been able to change the activities I went on. Fine, it's completely up to you what area that you focus on. My recommendation is that you are specific within these areas too. So when you look at an area of instructional techniques or assessment for learning or differentiation, you don't try and talk about everything in the differentiation world. So what I don't want you to do is take step and talk me through every part of the step principle and how you could have done that. Alternatively, I don't want you to talk me through everything to do with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, Mostyn's teaching styles, or the Bloom's taxonomy and different levels of questioning. You don't need to go in depth in all of that. You might want to focus on one. So you might focus on instructional techniques and questioning, or you might focus on instructional techniques and use of modified games as opposed to drills, for example. Whatever you do is fine, but only focus on one in depth, okay? And be quite sincere about that as well. So that will make your assignment stronger. If you have a look at the example reflections we've done, they do that. Now, what we also want to see is actually, once you've reflected upon that activity and you've kind of made conclusions, that informs the next lesson plan. So it might be about, my questioning wasn't very strong, okay, and then so there might be more evidence of higher order questions planned into your second session. Or it might be that I possibly didn't differentiate enough for this person, so actually you then have differentiated learning outcomes in the next session. Something like that, or something along those lines, or that you make STEP more robust and stronger in the next lesson. So that's what we would like you to do, really, but use these reflections as to inform practice. Think of that cycle that Amy talked about, okay? Think of it as an action research project. Thank you very much. I'm not going to go on about the reflections too much. As I said, if you've got any questions, get in contact and we will go from there. So, thank you.